What you're about to see is the first ever living robot that was just created by researchers in the US. This is it, the Xenobot. Under 1 millimeter in size, it's unlike most robots in that it's not made of any plastic or metal, but entirely of organic cellular material. It can move forward, turn around, sometimes spin in circles, and if you flip it on its back, it will flip itself back over. It's a human-made robot, but it's alive. Now, you might be asking, what exactly is a living robot? And that would be a perfectly reasonable question, especially given the fact that it's being deemed a brand new life form that has never existed before. But before we can actually understand what it does and what that might mean for the future, we have to understand what it actually is. Researchers essentially wanted to figure out if they could take real live cells and make them behave in a way that the researchers wanted them to, much like a robot made of other materials would do. So they took 2 different types of frog cells, both skin and heart cells. Heart cells naturally contract while skin cells don't. So the idea was, if we can put skin cells and heart cells together in a specific way, maybe we can come out with a functional structure that can move. And that's exactly what the researchers tried to do. If you take a look at this video of one of their successful creations, you can see that the blue cells are non-contracting skin cells, while the green and red ones are contracting heart cells. So this particular combination of cells will give you the motion you're seeing in both the animation and the actual result below. But it would have taken a long time to get here. So using computer scientists and evolutionary algorithms, a supercomputer would have made millions of iterations of these combinations of skin and muscle cells to figure out which combinations make the best movements. And evolutionary algorithms would have worked much like natural selection to improve upon existing models to figure out what works better, ultimately ending in what would be deemed the most fit versions. And so the researchers then use these computer-made designs to make the real thing. And by that, it means taking one cell at a time and sticking it to the next one and then to the next one. It's an extremely laborious process. Luckily, cells have the natural tendency to want to stick together, but it still meant a human technician going through a really intense process one bit at a time. So what exactly makes them robots? Well, once the scientists understood which combinations would make a cell move in a straight line or make this one spin in circles, they could then tell the supercomputer, we actually want this type of movement or this type of action. How do we get that? The supercomputer calculates it and then gives them a design that will ultimately create that action. So if the Xenobots are designed in the exact right way, they can move in the exact way we want them to. And so we end up with cellular organisms that have been designed by humans to act in predictable manners, like robots, which is what the Xenobots are, really. But the interesting, or kind of freaky part, is related to something called emergent behavior. While we might understand how a single cell works, when you put a group of them together, sometimes emergent behavior or properties come about. So the single cell itself can't do this thing, but when it's in a big group, it does. And us humans, assuming we're all humans here, are perfect examples. We have trillions of cells in our body, none of which have on their own consciousness or the ability to think, but when you bring them all together in this particular combination that is a body, consciousness emerges. What surprised the scientists about the Xenobots is that sometimes they would change their movement. They might turn around and go back from where they came from, or link up with another Xenobot and travel around, or if they were cut in half, they would put themselves back together. So truth be told, these Xenobots weren't completely predictable, but that was part of the research and the study. If we were to put combinations of cells in certain ways and get action that we were wanting, what types of other emergent behaviors could we see so we could better understand the whole system and better make Xenobots in the future? And that's what